Welcome to Straight Talk Sacred Pathway. I'm Stuart Wellborn, a British author and former therapist, and each week I sit down with Wa-Na-Nee-Che, a spiritual elder from Turtle Island, to explore the deeper truths behind healing, ceremony, and connection to Source. What do you want to talk about? Because I'm sure everybody's talking about your crazy president, how he's going more and more senile by the day, and he's flip-flopping over Iran. Do you want to talk about that or talk about something else?
Well, I'll just mention the fact that number one, people are finally starting to realize that he's nuts. I mean, even Republicans now are turning against him. The last poll they had, uh, they said that they had voted for Trump 3 times, and they said they're a bunch of idiots because they're sure in the hell ain't going to vote for him this year. They're not going to vote for the Republican Party because, I was trying to tell people too. I said, you don't go out and you just march, protest. If you're going to do anything, you let your representative know that if he or she is a Trump supporter, you're not going to vote for him. You're going to take him out of office. Now that scares the shit out of your House of Representatives and your senators, knowing they're going to lose their damn job because they're not representing the people; they're representing the king.
Well, that's into it because they're all narcissists to some degree anyway. So they've been kissing his ass because it's, well, one thing perhaps because, like, if they don't, they get sacked. But the other side, he was popular for whatever reason. Whereas now, like you say, they may lose the jobs, and that's a good thing.
Well, he did an Easter talk on Iran. Guess what his last, guess what his sign off word was? God praise Allah.
Yeah, I saw that, and you're like, what? What was that
Oh,
all about? He's always
I don't
he's
know.
been so anti-Muslim for the whole time that he's been a president, both terms, and then to say that, you're like, that surely that's where the men in white coats come and take you away because you're actually, I mean, nothing wrong with that sentence, but it coming out of his mouth is the bit that's wrong.
I think he was being sarcastic,
Uh,
but he's been blowing up, and people are just kind of shaking their head now. He's saying, "Well, it's time for him to be removed." And the vice president isn't any popular as well. A lot of people basically now are starting to think that he's crazy too.
well, there are a lot of crazy people in your country. It's like when you
Oh,
watch, not that I really watch the news, but I see clips of it. The amount of people that are coming on defending Trump's decisions, his batshit crazy decisions, like it's the greatest thing that anybody's ever said. I mean, what's going on there?
yeah, it's just the whole United States. Like I said, in the vision and in the prophecy, they said that hatred and craziness would take over the world before the cleansing came, because they said they would give the human being a chance to repent, but they're not repenting. That's just it. They're getting worse. So, one of the things I was going to talk about today is the fact that my knowledge, my gift, came from vision. In the vision, I was told what I could do and what I couldn't do. So then I went through my training. They took me to a dimension, and the energy started to teach me things, giving me certain information that I needed to start walking my pathway. And what worries me today is that people don't realize that if they have a gift, it will come in vision. It will be shown, and if they accept it, then the energies will take them to places where they will be trained. They will be given the information that is needed for them to fulfill their role within the sacred circle. But when you look around you today, people are not waiting for visions. They're paying people to give them a vision. And it all basically, a lot of people end up getting into it because of the dollar sign. And they're not doing it for the sake of enhancing and following their pathway, their gift. I mean, today when I look at things and I get a lot of emails, and almost not emails so much, but suggestions that people want to be my friends. And every one of them, basically, that I look at, I don't know who the true ones are or who the false ones are nowadays because, number one, they're not practicing their pathway. They're practicing someone else's pathway. And because of that, they will never gain the knowledge that is needed for them to enhance their life, to give them things that they need to assist and help humanity. So humanity is getting worse and worse because people are no longer following their pathway. If they were following their pathway, then they know exactly how to talk to people, how to inform people, and how to give tools so that other people can find their pathway and then bring us back to humanity. But if you don't have humanity, then society is going to get worse. That's exactly what's happening. You know, I remember I went to a talk, they had this sound box, and they were talking about how the sound box could help heal people. And I'm sitting there and I made a remark, and all of a sudden they took my remark as I was endorsing it. I said, I'm not endorsing it. I'm just saying that you have something that you have no knowledge of. And sound can kill and sound can heal. And you don't really know the difference. They said, well, and all of a sudden it was like a bang. And everybody looked around. They couldn't figure out where the hell the bang came from. Then they looked at that sound box. There was a fist hole that completely crushed it. And I said, well, I guess you got your answer that you're dealing with something you shouldn't be dealing with. Ah, you went silent. Matthew just said,
No.
yeah, you went completely silent.
That's all right. I'd muted my mic because the cat had come in. Sorry.
So again, I said that was the energy telling you that you're not supposed to be doing this.
I just wanted to rewind on something you said a minute ago, whilst it's still fresh in my mind. You said that people are only interested in the dollar sign when they should be helping humanity. However, you need your dollars to be able to put a roof over your head and food in your belly to be able to help people. And I'm aware of this in my own work because I'm trying to balance what I do to help people at the same time going, shit, my rent's gone up.
But if you're doing something that you're supposed to be doing, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just like I was sitting there one time and a dentist stood up and said, why are you charging to give a lecture? I looked at him, I said, who are you? He said, Mr. Smith. I said, Mr. Smith, what's your profession? He said, I'm a dentist. I said, could you do me a favor? Yeah, do your dentistry for free. He said, how in the hell am I going to survive? I said, exactly. So I said, if you have a gift and you're following your pathway, you have to survive. I know some of the natives always said, well, you're supposed to be a spiritual person. Why are you charging? I said, well, if you look at the people that you used to call the healers, spiritual people, we didn't have money at the time. It wasn't even known. But guess what? You gave horses, you gave teepees, you gave food, you gave skins, everything to the spiritual elder when he helped you. So it wasn't money, but they were gifts. It's to repay his services. So now we don't have that. Yeah, now we don't have that, so we end up have to use money because that's what we have to use now to survive.
I was going to say it's kind of lost a little bit of that in the West because if you are a seeker or a spiritual person in India, for example, you know, these people that go and sit in weird positions for the rest of their life, the people take care of them, don't they? They feed them and things like that. And you're talking about your ancestors, the shaman or whoever was given food, blankets, horses. Over in the West, if you're a spiritual seeker, you're on your own, really. And that's why it's hard, because what I'm trying to say, yes, you've got to charge for your gift, but at the same time, until you're making enough money from your gift, it's hard to think about your service whilst you're still thinking, how am I going to pay my bills? And how do you balance that one then?
Well, it's very simple. You're not being actually paid for your services. You're paying for the result of services. So say, for instance, you're sick. You're not paying for your services. That sick person, he's paying you because he's healed. So again, it's just, if you give, and you get something to receive. If you want something, you give to receive. So that's the rule that you actually go by, is the fact that, number one, are you really healing them, hailing them? And a lot of times, the reason why a lot of people sometimes that are not following their pathway is successful is because psychologically they get the brain to heal them. They relieve that brain of the problem that exists so that now they can go ahead and heal. So that's why I always tell people, I'll give you the tools to help you heal yourself. But how many people sit there and go around saying, I healed you?
Probably a lot. I'm just thinking back to my days working in a health centre. Back to what you're saying about it's not the process, the service I was providing, it's the result. For example, I stopped working in a health centre in 2010. At the time, my hourly rate, I think, was £50 or £60 an hour. So if someone came to me with a fear of flying, it's going to cost them, let's say, £100, something like that, which to some people is a lot of money. And I said, well, the way I'd frame it to them, and I'm not saying I healed them, I helped them to switch their own mind around, is that if, as a person who was terrified of flying, how much would you be prepared to pay to be rid of that so that you could fly and see the world? And when you look at that figure, £100 nothing, is it? And that's when they would see the value in it.
As you're talking, I just got a picture. The guy coming in saying, I have a fear of flying, so I threw him out the window. And I said, are you hurt? No. So why are you afraid of flying?
But I forgot my point now. You've ruined it for me.
A lot of times the fear of flying, like, I don't like flying. I never have. But I found out why I don't like to fly. Because I'm not in control. I'm sitting in a seat, the pilot's up there, and I have no control over it. And being a Thunderbird, I like to be in control.
So, Mr. Wa-Na-Nee-Che, how long have you had this issue with being a control freak?
Oh, I've had it ever since I was born. It's not so much control of, I would say, of human thoughts. It's control of fear, of learning how to basically let go of my fear, because then I'm in control of what I'm supposed to do, and fear's not controlling me.
But, okay, back to my point though about the pay and getting paid enough and for your gift. How does somebody, because a lot of people at the moment, with everything going up in price, like oil, I mean, over here diesel's gone up 50p a litre since the war started, so it's gone up by a third, you could say, if not more. When money's tight, it's hard to think of anything other than money, isn't it?
Survival.
So what have you got any tips for people that are in that position on how to switch their mind off from what they perceive as a lack of money and worried about survival to focus more on their gift and helping humanity.
Well, the whole idea, the first thing that you have to look at is the fact that what makes you happy? And the things that we do sometimes creates that void, and yet we don't really need it. It's just like over here. It's the whole idea that, yeah, I like doing this, I like doing that, but it's not life threatening, so I can give it up. But the whole idea is that we got so used to things being easy that we're afraid to look at things because price goes up. Okay. As human beings, we have a tendency to be very wasteful. And sometimes when we get in this type of situation, survival, all of a sudden they have to change their habits. And they won't waste things like a piece of bread. They eat half a piece of bread and then they throw it away. Now they keep the half of bread, put it in the refrigerator, and wait till the next meal and then take it and eat it. No longer throwing things away because things are getting tough.
I think you're right there. It is looking at where you are spending on things that perhaps you don't need. Like for example, some people must have the latest iPhone or Samsung phone as soon as it comes out, and they'll be paying, I don't know what you pay for one of those kind of contracts, but you're paying for the phone contract and the phone over a few years. So let's just call it $100 as a ballpark figure.
Over here.
Hmm?
It's $1,400 over here for a brand new phone.
No, I meant the monthly contracts. I don't know if you do it over there,
Yeah.
but over here you pay for the monthly contract and you get the phone free, but the price of the phone's built into the contract.
No matter how you look at it, you still pay for that phone.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of people have to have the latest model of the phone, even though they don't use like 90% of the technology in it. My brother's a good case of this. If you're tight on money, you could go, do I need to be spending £100 a month on a phone or $100 when I could actually go and pick a phone up like I did off CEX
Yeah.
for £100, and that'll last me. Wait, CEX gives you, I'm almost promoting them here. They give you a 5-year warranty, so instead of paying $100 per month, I've paid that once, and now I've got a phone that lasts me for 5 years. So there are ways that we can cut back on our expenses.
Cut courses and stuff like that. It's just like if anything ever happened to my phone, I got a backup system. Smoke signals.
Hey, let's talk about that. Smoke signals, were they a real thing or are they a Hollywood invention?
No, they're a real thing. I have to laugh sometimes because people are outside smoking their cigarettes, and I stop and I said, "Are you in trouble?" No, why? I've seen your smoke signals.
No, but seriously, how did they work?
Yeah, well, it's like smoke signals, it depends on the intervals. You let a puff go and then you wait, let another puff go. But then again, either short or long, each one meant something different. Like a war council, basically, a lot of times was black smoke. So they had their own way of communicating with the smoke signals because it was that far away.
And would that be different depending on what tribe you were from then?
No, I think almost most of the tribes use smoke signals.
And they would have all meant the same thing no matter what tribe you're in. So if you did a long puff.
It's just like the universal language of the indigenous people was sign language. So they could communicate with all the tribes, even though they didn't speak their language, they used sign language. It was universal. I don't think like some of the tribes, like the Hopi tribe, the Navajo tribes, didn't use smoke signals.
What other means of communication did you have then other than smoke signals? Anything else?
Hmm. Trying to think of course, a drum.
Uh-huh.
The drum was used both spiritually and basically the calling of people together and everything. But again, even the drum, people who use drums don't even realize that a drum is a instrument of communication. And they just play whatever they want to play, whatever, not realizing that they could be sending a dangerous message. It's just like when I was sitting there with White Crane. We were over at Stanford, and all these women got together and started playing their drum. And one of the leaders was playing a certain type of drum beat and everything. I looked at White Crane, he looked at me, and we both got up and got out of there. And we both looked at each other. Did you understand what that drumming was? I said, yeah, it was a fertility drum. Let's get the hell out of there. And as we walked out, we looked up at the moon. It was a red moon. We both looked at it. We said, "The damn good thing we got out of there." Otherwise, there'd been a lot of little papooses running around.
Would that be universal though, the drum thing? Because all cultures have used drums. So would the drum have the same meaning, like with the Celts and your ancestors?
Like I said, it came down to the beat, just like in the Philippines during World War II. That's how they used to communicate, was the drum. Africa used the drum. The Chinese used the drum. So almost every form of culture used a drum for something. I think the only trying to think whether or not the white culture used it or not.
Yeah, Celts use drums.
Yeah, the Celtics used it, that's right.
Yeah.
But I don't think the English ever used it. They just used it to march.
Oh yeah, keep the beat.
And executions.
Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about then for the last 10 minutes? Unless anybody comes through with a question.
That's it. That's kind of got into. I did have a real interesting experience last night too. That's the other thing I was going to talk about is chakras.
Is what?
Chakra,
Oh, chakras, yeah.
Kundalini, is the fact that people really don't understand it. There's a few people who understand, but at one time, especially in India, the Kundalini didn't stop at 7. The chakras did not stop at 7. But nowadays, it seems like when you study it, you have only 7. There's 15 levels. And some of the gurus in India before the invasion could reach 14 and 15. And then when they got taken over, they were basically taken out of the picture. They were basically exterminated because they couldn't take over the country with the spiritual elders having that much power. Same thing with the indigenous people. They could go beyond the 7. They didn't call it chakras. They didn't call it kundalini. They just called it spiritual connection, the ascending from one level to the next level to the next level.
So what are the higher levels above? Because the traditional one, the last one's the crown one, isn't it? Or the one above it?
Well, it's the capability of having gifts that you can utilize, your connection. I think when you got to the 15, it was direct connection to the Creator, to God, that you could communicate directly with that type of energy.
And what would that make you do? What or capable of?
I'm still trying to get it to be explained to it because last night I had an experience where they took me and I was on the earth and I was at the 7th level. Then they took me through a tunnel and took me to 8, 9, 10, 11, all the way up to 15. But when they got to 14, they said, "Do you want to go to the 15th level?" And the first time they had offered it to me to teach me how to get to the 15th level, I refused because I was afraid of the responsibility. But they said that they would take me to 15th level, but I said, I don't understand anything past the 7th. So I said, if you're going to start offering me these things, yeah, you're going to have to bring me to a place where I can be given the information should I understand what good are these levels? What can I do at all of these levels? So then they said, well, we'll get back to you. And then I woke up. But I was so funny because my life force energy, all of a sudden I could feel movement in my energy. And I said, something's happening. I don't know what the hell it is, but something's about to happen. And I was awake when that happened, but I could feel my stomach turning and like something was coming in. And then I said, well, I'll wait till they explain it to me to try before I try to understand it.
Well, it's good to understand. I've got a question. I don't know. Okay, I'll read it exactly as it says here. Do we get told when our time is up?
Our time is never up. When we got kind of like, okay, let's say people that they say they're on their deathbed and they know that they're going to pass. But it's not so ideal that they're going to pass. They feel it's time to ascend. It's time for their life force energy to leave the body and to go to a higher level. So we feel it when it's our time to leave the earth. We know it.
So we know more than get told then.
Yeah, we don't have to be told because we already know. It's almost like, remember that one cat they used to talk about, and they misinterpreted it. When a person was going to pass, the cat would go to their room in the hospital. And sure enough, 24 hours later, the person would pass. And I sat there and I asked the question, is it true? And then I got an answer when I was in a vision saying, no, you're wrong. The cat was trying to make the staff aware of this person is ill. And if you don't take care of her, she's going to pass or he's going to pass. But they took it, oh, he's going to pass. They didn't get the message. You know, just like the owl, the Lakota, Nakota, Dakota think that when an owl comes 3 times, someone close to you is going to die. Well, the oil's, you know, if he has to come 3 times, don't you think he's giving you a warning? Because every time you say, who? Nico, who? Who is it?
Oh, that reminds me of the Abbott and Costello sketch.
Sometimes, you know, the way you use humor is actually more effective than actually doing a serious uh, interpretation. But sometimes they'll remember it if it's comical.
I think so as well. I'm a big advocate for humour as much as possible. Just because a subject's serious doesn't mean you got to be serious all the time.
It's like we used to get doctors that weren't that good on reservations, right? And with one of the jokes where I came into the doctor and I said, "Doctor, it hurts when I left my arm." Well, don't left your arm. That was kind of a standard joke, you know, that we had real poor doctors on the reservation that really didn't know. They were interns, not doctors. So they were experimenting on natives. It's just like when you watch movies, right? They sit there and they've never given credit that 75% of all the medicine that we know today came from the indigenous person. But you're looking at TB and a person's sick and he has these sayings, you go, yeah, sure, of course. You know, not showing that they gave him herbs. Lately, there's been some movies out where somebody is dying, they have wound, and they come in with the herbal medicines. The next thing you know, a month later, they're healed.
And does it work like that?
Yeah.
Uh,
And after all, we understood the herbs. We understood the energy of the herbs because they showed us what they were used for.
well, hopefully that answered your question then about do we get told? You don't get told, you just know.
You
Like,
know, yeah.
you know.
Just like when you get into your plane's going to crash, you say, "Well, it's my time." You don't have to be told because the plane's going to be crashing.
Yeah. Oh, dear me. Okay, I'll just have a look at the time. We've got 2.5 minutes left.
Yeah.
So if you want to wrap up with any closing thoughts before we finish?
Well, on the subject matter, suicide. People really go down and say, "Oh, what if it was their time to go?" Your body said, "Yeah, there's a better place for you." Boom.
These are big questions that you can't really answer for certain, though.
Yeah.
But it's painful for the people that are left behind, isn't it?
Life is simple when we learn to listen to our energy, but when we listen to use our mind basically makes it unbearable.
Yeah, like that point you were making, like if the owl turns up 3 times and like it's a warning that somebody might die, then yeah. How about trying to prevent them dying before just going, yeah, okay, someone's going to die, I don't know who.
Well, I sat there when I was younger, and I was sitting there and with an owl into the woods. And I told Dad there was an owl outside. He said, "Well, let's hope he doesn't come 3 times," because he was part of Dakota. And he told me the story. So the owl came back the second night. I took my 22, we didn't have screens at the time, placed it out the window, and I shot to scare him out. He never come back the third night. So during the fall, I was walking into the woods. I found the owl. He had a bullet right between his eyes.
Oh.
So the bullet was basically guided to that owl, so he wouldn't come back again.
Well, he was right then. Somebody did die.
No,
It was
no,
him.
He didn't. Only done it twice. But my sister got real sick.
Oh. But she recovered.
Yeah, she recovered.
Okay, we're into the last minute, so that means we'll probably get kicked out any second.
Yeah.
Final thing that you want to say?
Find your energy connection and do away with the mental control.
Thanks for listening to Straight Talk Sacred Pathway. If you'd like to ask Wa-Na-Nee-Che a question, you can email me at stuart@realityresponsibility.com. The link will be in the description. And don't forget, you can download a powerful guided meditation for free at humancircleoflife.com.